Welcome, everyone, to Winning in the Shadows, NFL Week 6. The show is off the rails already. Corbin is laughing because the code word of the day is nail. If you don't have a hot take, just type the word nail in the comments section. I didn't know this is Corbin's favorite part of the show is the code word of the day in the comments section. So we're going to break down props and parlay pieces for NFL Week 6. Let's get into it. As you guys know, we always take a look at the weather. Not too much. Low chance for showers in London. That's like amazing.
It's not low. It's gonna rain. Just ignore it. It's gonna rain.
Okay, rain in London. Just playing on it. Houston and New England. It will rain Sunday afternoon. The timing isn't set in stone, so we'll just say scattered showers are possible. Arizona and Green Bay looks like there is going to be some moisture there, and then Cincinnati at the Giants. Scattered showers possible. We will not break down the weather in any of the dome games. So, all right, guys, let's get into our props here that we have up. We're recording this on Saturday afternoon, so if breaking news happens Sunday morning, apologize. I put up the Giants breakdown video, and I was like, I think Malik Neighbors is going to play. And like 20 minutes later, after he uploaded, it's like Malik Neighbors is out. Okay. So we'll get after it. Hit the like button, guys, if you could. Really appreciate it. And leave us your best bet in the comments section. If you don't have a best bet, just type the word nail. Nail. It really helps us out. Let's Wager Stock know we're doing a good job for you guys. All right, let's start with the passing yards and passing touchdowns. Corbin, Jaguars and Bears, you got any quarterback props you like with this one?
No, it's one of those weeks I kind of like. If it wasn't Caleb Williams, I would like the totals to go over versus the Jags. I can't trust him. I know I talked about him last week and he ended up having a big game out of nowhere. I can't do it. I managed to cash on the Trevor Lawrence props last week, even though I didn't particularly like him, but the numbers were all there. It kind of feels like he's going to regress back to how he was doing before that game. It's one of those games I don't quite know what to expect, so I'm just going to pass on the passing props.
Jim?
Under 1.5 touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence. I think the Bears are going to really clamp down on what's their rookie receiver, Brian Robinson. What's his?
Yeah, Brian Robinson Jr.
I think the jig is up and everyone knows about him. And we've seen Trevor struggle against high end pass defenses, and that's what the Bears are.
I so wanted to take Caleb Williams over 1.5 passing touchdowns. The Jaguars, their secondary is really awful. This is kind of one of the themes that we're seeing right now is there are just some secondaries that you circle and you fade them every single week. I couldn't get there just because it's overseas. Caleb Williams, rookie quarterback. This is new for him. And the Jags are completely used to this. So if I'm just trying to really nitpick plays to lay off of, I can't get to the window with Caleb Williams just because I don't know how it's going to go with his overseas trip. Texans and the Patriots. Drake May getting the start.
You sound so excited with that, Andy. I've just got to say, you sounded so enthusiastic. This is right in your wheelhouse, though. This is the kind of
I like.
You like. How did I know that was coming?
Mm-hmm. I like the over. He can throw the ball long. Jacoby Brissett can't. Like that. Like this has been the easiest passing offense to defend in the league. It just has. It's Jacoby Brissett. Awesome guy. He's just not. He can't throw the ball deep. Drake May, they're going to let him throw the ball. They're going to let him throw the ball.
He's going to have to. He better get rid of that ball with that offensive line.
Jimmy, you with me? 164.5 over?
It's way low. Way low. Like, why? Just because he's a rookie, he can't throw for 164? Do we realize how low 164 really is? He's going to have to get the ball out of his hands. I expect a ton of targets to Antonio Gibson. Check downs, get it out quick. I think he could easily go over 168.
28.5 pass attempts. What's his completion? 17.5.
I'd be worried about the attempts because that line's bad.
I would worry about that too. Yeah. To throw in interceptions minus 150, you gotta like that one.
That's more in my wheelhouse. I'll take that as opposed to hoping he throws it.
I love these rookie quarterbacks when they come in the middle of the season. I love backup quarterbacks when they come in. There's just no film on them, and you get this ridiculously low number. Andy Dalton, the first week he played, I think he went over his passing total by like 100 yards. I just think they're going to let him let him open up the offense a little bit more. So, Corbin, you like anything with CJ Stroud, or these numbers pretty dialed in?
I think they're dialed in. I like Stroud to have another good game, but the problem is I think they could be streets ahead, and I really don't think they're going to need to do an awful lot. Nico Collins being out as well, he's been the number one guy. Just a few factors. Why bother? So I like the next play if you want me to go for that.
Go
So
for it. Go for it.
Jaden Daniels over 225.5. I really like this play. This is my favorite passing one I think on the board. So I'm expecting the Commanders to be competitive, if not behind, against the Ravens. The Ravens are the second worst versus the pass and the best versus the run. All of that kind of set up, so I think Daniels is going to have to throw the ball to win here. Allen is the only person to go under this total. Even Minshew went over this total. Even Minshew managed to get over this. And Allen had no receivers that game. Kind of explains why he didn't go over. It's such a low total at 225 still. That's where I kind of like. So
I could not agree more. These are two terrible secondaries.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at Lamar Jackson over his passing touchdowns. The Commanders don't give out. They're bad. They don't give up a ton of yards, but 11 touchdown catches they've given up. I'm with you, Jaden Daniels over his passing and Lamar, over his touchdown. It's gonna be a really nice same game parlay kind of opportunity just with the quarterbacks. If you take like Jaden Daniels, a little bit of an alt line over with that. So, Jim, you like any of these quarterbacks?
I like the Lamar Jackson over 1.5 touchdowns. I think we're going to have a lot of sweaty palms come the third quarter when Derrick Henry hasn't scored yet.
Oh, yeah.
With that ridiculous number they put him at. It just smells like the week where, it's easy. Like, just play Derrick Henry every week. And, Lamar's going to run for 1 and throw for 3. And Henry's going to he'll be sitting on the bench in the fourth, and Justice Hill will be out there running if they're up big. And just, it smells. It just smells. It was like McCaffrey when he was minus 265. So I like Lamar to throw the ball this week. I think it's the easiest path to victory for them.
Yeah, it should be maybe Zay Flowers get right game. We'll look at his number when we get to the receiving. Browns and the Eagles. Jim, Deshaun Watson, 189. I know the Eagles defense isn't that good. They've had a week off. I'm not playing over on Deshaun Watson.
I can't do it. I wanted to take. You saw what he did against the Commanders. Come on. I mean,
wasn't great.
You can't throw against that team. I don't know what to do. It's bad. It's bad, man. It's bad. And I know that they came out and they backed him. He's our quarterback and all that stuff. It makes you wonder if in the third quarter, look, that decision did not come from Kevin Stefanski. That came from ownership. It makes you wonder if the third quarter Stefanski's just like, all right, I've seen enough. I don't care if it gets me fired. Winston, get in there. So if anything, I'm still looking at an under. I think the Eagles secondary is horrible. The numbers don't show. We were just talking about how numbers and rankings don't really show the game scripts. The Eagles secondary is bad, but he doesn't want to let the ball go. It's the weirdest thing. He doesn't trust his eyes. And when you have a quarterback that doesn't trust their eyes, not doing. If anything, I'm looking at Watson interception. That's where I would go with it. And honestly, you could probably take Hurts too, because he's been tossing it up all season as well.
Yeah, Hurts has certainly been prone. I got a couple passing or receiving ones I like in this one. Kind of stay away from the quarterbacks. Corbin, you like Hurts or Watson?
I like Hurts to go under his total here. So we know that the Browns are a far better pass defense than run defense. He's gone under in 2 of the 4 games so far, but the 2 that he didn't, one was the shootout versus the Packers, and the other one was a huge loss last time out to the Bucks. And the Browns have held every quarterback under this total so far this year, including Dak and Daniels. So worth noting. Hurts just doesn't look right to me. There's something still not right there. I'd lean the under, quite honestly.
Yeah, he gets his 2 big weapons back, but boy, if they get a lead, they're just going to be running the ball.
Exactly.
Cardinals and Packers. Corbin, your team. What do you think about Kyler Murray and Jordan Love?
So I like both teams to run the ball here. I'm not so much invested in the passing props this week. Again, there's a few problems. Who knows if Christian Watson's going to play this week? We didn't do injuries this week, but I think Dobbs is back. We'll talk about him in a bit. But I feel like it's more going to be a running week for both. So
Jim, you like any of these quarterbacks?
Pass.
Pass. Colts and Titans, yikes. 2 quarterbacks can't even get to 200 yards on either of their props. I'm so taking Richardson under. If I have to play anything in this one, coming off an injury, I'm not sure there's a guarantee he finishes the game. Titan secondary has been better, and the guy just doesn't throw a lot, kind of dependent on the big play. We know they have big play ability, but I don't know. I'm not taking an over on either one of these guys. Corbin, you got any thoughts on Levis and Richardson?
no, I wanted to fade the Colts again. I mentioned it most weeks, but I just can't do it with Levis. I can't. Just save yourself the pain and just move on. Quite honestly.
I agree.
Interceptions.
What's that?
Interceptions.
Yeah,
Will
Richardson's
Levis is on the field.
Get ready.
He's going to give you one.
Get ready. Buccaneers and the Saints. Our boy Baker Mayfield taking on Spencer Rattler. Jim, you're saying you still like Baker Mayfield over 1.5 touchdowns, right?
I still do. They've just shown that they're not going to commit to the run down at the goal line. I think this is a team who really learned what their identity is, and they're going to stick with it. Like, they're not trying to force the run game. And the run game has gotten pretty good with Bucky Irvin running the ball and that just not being white all the time. It's been serviceable. Just Spencer Rattler is probably going to give the Bucs an extra possession here or there. We might get 2 extra possessions with a short field with Tampa, and we've seen Baker is looking to throw. He just is. If anything, he's looking to run himself. I'm more worried about him rushing a touchdown than I am Bucky Irving. I know Lattimore Evans, the big rivalry, but God, this Bucs team has weapons, man. Not only Godwin, but Cade Otton is becoming a really good safety blanket for Baker Mayfield. So I think they have places to go with the football. So I like the over 231. I think he gets a couple big plays, and I like the over 1.5 a lot.
Yeah, Rattler at 188.5. I don't know. It's kind of surprising that he's like well over 20 yards more than Drake May. I guess they're saying that the offense is just a lot better for the Saints. I guess they got better weapons, but I don't know. What's your take on Rattler, Jim?
I think he goes over. I think we see points in this game, man.
Yeah.
If the Saints are smart, they're going to keep this kind of to what Rattler knows, which is a bit of a college-style offense. And if that's the case, it's all right. Take your shots. We'll tell you when we're going to take our shots. Other than that, get it to Kamara in space. You're not going to run the ball against the Bucs. You're going to have to throw. So we got to realize how low 188 yards really is. And we've seen this in a lot of these standalone games that the quarterback only has 30 yards at the end of the first quarter, and this number drops down to 150. You're like, how do they not throw for 120 more yards? There's still 3 quarters left.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's a way to look at it. If they go 3 and out and the number drops on Rattler, maybe you could play it then.
Steelers and Raiders, Corbin, it's the quarterback rivalry we've all been waiting for. Aiden O'Connell versus Justin Fields. We had this circled before. Here we go again. But just a run of games where the quarterback's numbers aren't even close to 200 yards. Can you take either one of these guys to go over?
No. Again, it's just like we talk about plays throughout this that we have strong opinions. It's one of those. I can't have a stronger opinion about Aiden O'Connell at all. Either way, like who knows what's going to happen? So
I can. I like the over on O'Connell.
Okay,
I really do. The Steelers are missing Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. Their only pass rusher left is T.J. Watt, and I know T.J. Watt can do it all by himself. However, this is a YOLO Aiden O'Connell. Like, what does he care? He's going to let this loose to Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. And if he throws a pick, who cares? I just don't think he cares. And we saw last year.
YOLO Aiden O'Connell. That's
what's
the
he
quote
got
of the
to
day.
get that on a t-shirt.
Pierce is getting fired soon. What does he have to lose? Let it loose. So he might just go for it. And I think he could hit this 187.
That's great.
You're braver than I am.
I'm not betting it. I'm just like, I'm not betting it, but I like it.
All right. Up next, we have Bo Nix versus Justin Herbert. I will read you these numbers: 179, 125, 130, and 144. That's Justin Herbert's passing totals for this year, and they got him at 183.5, and now he's going up against the Broncos. This is a really, really low number, but it's a Chargers team that's just not throwing the ball very much. I mean, his completions 16, 12, 14, and 17. I mean, he's 27, 18, 20, and 26 attempts. We know what they want to do. The Chargers want to do. They're starting to get more healthy with the wide receivers, but I mean, Patrick Surtain's got to be licking his chops this is not a scary, wide receiving core. I think this is Chargers trying to run the ball 40 times. I'd take unders on Justin Herbert because I'm not really sure that Bo Nix is going to be able to put up a ton of points to where the Chargers need to get away. Corbin, you got any thoughts?
You nailed it. Everything as you just said.
Okay.
Yep. Herbert under is a lean, so I think they're going to run the ball more than try and throw it here. So,
let me look up the pass attempts. What is Herbert's pass attempts here? 28.5. That would be season high.
Mm-hmm.
God, that just feels like a ton. So
when these two teams get together, they're not high scoring affairs.
Yeah, and
this is a division.
I expect both defenses to be on top here.
Yes,
so.
yes,
yeah. So I would totally. And if the Chargers get up by 7, that's going to be tough for Bo Nix to come back from. I think Bo Nix is decent, but trying to come from behind, and Harbaugh is going to run. Falcons and the Panthers. Dalton versus Cousins. Panthers are just absolutely terrible against the pass. I was dead wrong on Cousins last week. He looked great. I'd take those over his yards and his touchdowns. Jim, you got any thoughts on Dalton and Cousins?
What did they put Dalton's completions at this week? I didn't look at it yet, but that's where I've been looking at Dalton. Completions or attempts. What do we got?
So Dalton is only 22.5. Kirk Cousins 23.5.
I mean, you have to think that the Panthers are going to be down because Kurt looked really good, and like you said, the Panthers can't stop the pass. So, I do expect a decent game from Chuba, but we might get into third, fourth quarter. Andy's got to throw it. So 22.5, I think, is still playable. Only reason he didn't hit this last week is because they decided to trot Bryce out there to throw the ball into the dirt a couple times instead of Andy. So
instead,
I was furious. I needed two more completions, and he hits the side. That's where I've been looking with Andy Dalton this season is his completions.
Corbin, you got any thoughts on Dalton and Cousins?
Well, I have it coming up in a alt play Dalton, but okay. I like him under his normal total. The Falcons are 8th best versus the pass. He's gone under the last 2. It's like the teams have started figuring him out. He's really not that hard to prepare for. I'm expecting both teams. I think both teams are going to run the ball, quite honestly. And the only quarterback to go over this total versus the Falcons was Carr, and he only just went over. So I don't think Dalton's going over this total.
Lions and the Cowboys, Dak Prescott and Goff. Man, Dak Prescott 282.5. Boy, that sounds like a really, really high number. I think most of these numbers are pretty much dialed in. I can't bet any of them. Jim, do you like any of the quarterback? Yeah, Corbin?
Same.
All right. Bengals and the Giants. I was waiting for this, and I got to tell you, Daniel Jones at plus 170.
It's a pretty crazy number, isn't it?
Against the Bengals secondary, who's awful. Mm-hmm. If this is plus 110, I don't know, but man, plus 170 to fade this Bengals secondary. Corbin, am I crazy?
You're not crazy, but I don't know. I don't know if Jones is the one to do it. I guess the price makes it inviting, but again, I feel like I have stronger players elsewhere than.
All right.
Trying to rely on Jones to throw the ball.
I think you could take both of them. I think you put a bigger bet on Burrow over 1.5 and a little sprinkle on Jones, and you might get away with both of them. I hate the 190 on Burrow is the problem.
Yeah.
First prop I looked at this week was this.
Was it?
I was like, they're onto it.
Yeah, they figured that one out. Yes.
Thought we'd sneak it.
Let's move to rushing props. We'll start with Jags and the Bears.
Ooh, yeah.
Kind of interesting what's going on here in the backfield here with ETN and Bigsby. It's a tough defense to go up against. I don't know. I don't like any of these rushing props, Corbin.
Oh, I do. You just mentioned it. I love Bigsby over.
Okay.
It was at 39.5 when I wrote this. So the 3 games, he's basically played in 3 games. There's a couple where he had, I think he must have been injured because he had nothing, and one where he had like 2 carries. So the 3 that he's played, he's had 73, 90, and 101 with long carries of 65 and 58. Even without those long runs, he still goes over this total. The Bears are 6th best versus the pass, but 18th versus the run. Again, I've mentioned Jags and Trevor Lawrence have had issues throwing the ball outside of last week all season. I think they're going to rely on the running game. ETN is banged up. He's had injuries, missed practices. He came out of the game a couple of weeks ago. I think Bigsby's slowly taking over, and that seems like a really low total to me. So that's one of my favorite rushing plays on the board.
Nice. Jim?
What's Swift's rushing and receiving?
Ooh, rushing and receiving is going to be.
Jim's a huge fan of this.
You love this one. 77.5. Hey, dead on
Love it.
about
Love
with
it.
Cook. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
Against these bad pass defenses, teams still try to keep the running backs involved. This has been great with James Cook in Buffalo. Same thing. Not a ton of weapons, but still want to keep the running back involved. I very much could see him in the passing game. And look, with DeAndre Swift, there's always a chance that he could break a 30-yard screenplay, and you're sitting pretty early in the first quarter for the rest of the game. He's going to get the lion's share, I believe, too.
Do you like? We'll move on to the Texans and Patriots. Like Antonio Gibson, 69.5.
100%.
Yeah.
Where else are they going to go with the football? And I just think Drake May is going to get it out of here. No Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
Where are the weapons on this team?
Well, they're on other teams where they passed on all the wide receivers that they could have had on all of them. So, yeah, they don't even have rushing props for the Texans. Corbin, do you like anything except for Stroud, obviously?
No, I do want I do want to see the Texans running back props when they come out. That was one I was waiting for. So
Okay.
we'll wait and see on those.
Commanders and Ravens. Jim, you were talking about Derrick Henry. That this touchdown prop is like begging to bite everybody. Any thoughts on the rushing attack? Or we looking at Justice Hill?
Yeah, I mean, we can see the yards. They just, I've tried to get on Justice Hill. He just really is not getting the carries. I wonder if this game just becomes the Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson show, where they're just going to try to one up each other. I mean, if you're Jaden Daniels, is there any other game that you're more hyped about than playing against?
Yeah, the teams are like right next to each other with Washington and Baltimore, and
like who's the quarterback you idled coming? It's got to be Lamar. I mean, come on, same style. So I actually think you could maybe take both of these guys over their rushing, and it just might hit. I worry with the Derrick Henry consistency. He is not going to score a touchdown and run for 100 yards every game. He's just not. So I have nothing in my account on this game. That's just some thoughts.
So Justice Hill's rushed for 22, 33, 18, and 17 in the last 3 games. Yeah, you're right. 5 carries, 4 carries, 5 carries, 4 carries. So it's been pretty consistent. We know what he's going to get.
That's my second favorite rushing play on the board.
What is it?
Justice Hill?
Justice Hill.
Okay.
It's such a low total. He has so much speed. He comes in. He only needs a couple of carries to go over. It doesn't. You talk about he's only getting 4 or 5. That's all he needs. That's why the total is at 14 or 15. If he was getting more carries, then his total is going to be in the mid-20s. I think it's great, quite honestly.
How about this 3.5? I know it's minus 155. Got that in his last 4 games.
Yeah,
that's
you
1 carry per quarter. Yeah, like Derrick Henry needs a breather. Comes in for a couple carries. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that one. Kind of like that one. Might have to revisit that. Up next, we have the Browns and the Eagles. Saquon's 85.5. I really hate taking huge numbers like that, but man, I like Saquon to be a big part of the offense. What do you think, Corbin?
I think Barkley's going to have a field day. Whether the total's kind of in the right place, so that's why I'll mention one of my favorite parlay pieces is him to have the most rushing yards in this game. It's minus 320, so you're going to have to put it with something. But I don't see who gets close to him in this game to beat him. You know,
Probably not too worried about Deontay Foreman.
no,
rushing,
Barkley's had 80 plus rushing yards in every single game. Ford hasn't gone over 64 yet. Like I
Yeah.
think Barkley's going to comfortably have the most rushing yards in this game. You could easily use an alt line as well. I don't think anyone gets close to him. So,
Jim,
No, nothing.
Cardinals and the Packers. Corbin, coming to you. You know your Packers
oh
quite well.
yes,
Just rushing.
I have
field
3
day?
rushing plays on this game.
I do too. This is great. This is my favorite rushing play of the week. This game.
We'll have a little game of bingo, and I'll
right.
say it and you say it. So James Conner over 70.5 is one of them. I
Yes,
like him
please.
to go over his normal rushing, his longest, and he'll score a touchdown. I don't need to overcomplicate that. So Connor's over in 3 of his last 4. The only time he didn't was against the Lions. We know how good their rush defense is. Ours is pants. Awful. Don't need to overcook it. We are awful. He's gone over this longest total only twice. The Packers are still not good versus the run. Don't need to do anything with that. Reed over 5.5, over in 4 of 5. Jacobs just isn't getting it done this year. He has so much speed, and the only game he didn't go over Reed was against the Vikings when we were down horrendously bad. Kind of explains that one. And then my favorite one of the 3 is Kyler Murray over 32.5 rushing. So he's had 83, 45, 59, and 57, and 3. The 3 came in the big loss to the Commanders, so kind of makes sense. We do awful against mobile quarterbacks, awful. Richardson and Hurts went over this total against us, and I can also see his longest rush of 14.5, him going over that quite honestly easily. So yeah, hopefully
Love
Jim, you
it.
pick some of those on the bingo card.
You got
Jim?
one. I got one. I agree with you on James Conner. Well, 2. I agree with you on his total, and I agree with you that he's going to score a touchdown.
Yes.
I'm actually looking at Josh Jacobs' carries, and I'm also looking at Josh Jacobs' score. I think this game screams same game parlay for rushing. This just screams a lower alt total for both of these running backs. Like if you both of them to rush for 50 yards. Both of them to score, I think, is on the table. I expect the Packers to really put a whooping on the Cardinals offensively, personally. I just don't think this Cardinals defense is any good whatsoever. And they're coming off this big win. Going to Green Bay. They're not in a dome. It's going to be raining. It's a running game. It just is. So what's Jacobs' carries?
16.5. They're both at 16.5.
Yeah, I think you could even take both. I just think this ends up to be a sloppy running game, Connor and him. I could see the Murray props coming through. It's not really where I was looking, so I really don't have an opinion, yay or nay. But I think both of these starting running backs get work in this game.
I have a question for you, Joe. It's something I do, but I don't know if you guys are fans of it. So you talked about you think they're both going to have running games in the same game parlay. Do you ever look to go up to get plus money? I used to do it with Kamara on his receptions and ladder it up. Are there any kind of opportunities here to take both of them to do more?
Get 100 yards or so.
Wow.
That'd be a great number, I'll tell you that much. If I'm going to ladder anything up, personally, I don't link it with the second player. It would be the player. I wouldn't like the risk. I've done that with David Montgomery, who we'll get to. But that's a good thought, Corbin. I like it. I like where you're going with it. We very well could see 100 rushing yards for both of these guys.
Absolutely. Colts and the Titans. No Anthony Richardson rushing. Wonder if the books are like, last time they ran him, he got hurt. Maybe they don't run him anymore. I don't know. Pollard at 63.5. Feel like this was a popular play. Trying to fade the Colts. But man, that's a big number for Tony Pollard.
I will never trust Tony Pollard with that kind of number.
Yeah, me either. I know Levis, could be a bonehead, but you attack the Colts with the secondary. Like, I don't care who the quarterback is. Like, if you have the option to hand the ball to Tony Pollard or to throw against the Colts secondary, it's throw against the Colts secondary
Mhm.
for sure. I like the under on Trey Sermon. He's mediocre at running back. I don't see a big game from him. I actually kind of like Goodson, the guy that the other guy for the Colts. I was kind of hoping to get a prop on him, but all right, Buccaneers and Saints. Baker Mayfield's all the way up to 13.5. What was he at, like 3.5 to start the year? Like, this is not a running
Something like that.
quarterback. This is not a running quarterback, but there he is. Corbin, you've been on Bucky Irving a few times before. Now it's up to 60.5. What do you think?
I can't. It's one of those. I'm going to take my profits from the weeks that I had him at a lower total, and I'm just going to run. There's no need for me to try and fiddle around and try and work out if I think this total is too high. Quite honestly, I'm not going to take an under on him, but I think they've crept it too high with this one. So,
Jim, what do you think?
Spencer Rattler
You like him to run?
over 14.5.
Okay.
It's not going to take much to get over that, and he did it in college. I watched all of Spencer Rattler's career. I'm actually a fan of Spencer Rattler. I think this is going to be a little bit too much.
Tuck and run.
Yeah, I think he's going to have his moments where he does tuck and run. And once we see a turnover or two, it's going to be more, I don't want to force it. Let me run. So 14.5, I think, is low. I think he could fly over this with one good play.
I agree. Like one broken play where the receivers go deep and he just runs up the middle for 20 yards is absolutely in the deck of cards for sure. Steelers and the Raiders. There's been some videos about Najee Harris and this Pittsburgh Steelers rushing offense and just how really clunky it is. God, the Raiders are awful. God, they're just terrible. I kind of want to take Najee over, and then Jalen Warren gets ruled like healthy. So now I can't do anything with this game, Corbin.
you nailed it. Same
Yeah.
thing as you just said.
Jim? Nothing.
I love when they put these over half a yards for wide receivers out. You're literally taking a lottery ticket, but at plus 350, I can think of worse lottery tickets to take.
Oh man,
it's tempting. I'm not going to play it, but God, are we going to like? You want to get the ball in your playmakers' hands, and because George Pickens is such a head case, sometimes it's easier just to hand him the ball than it is to try to throw it to him. So. I don't even care about the stats. That number's nuts. It probably loses. I'm not playing anything in this game.
Interesting breakdown.
It's
fascinating
breakdown there. It's weird.
Chargers and the Broncos. I actually am not too interested in the yards for J.K. Dobbins. His rush attempts, though, has me a little bit interested at 16.5. I just think it's going to be really, really hard to throw the ball in this team, and I think they lean on Dobbins in that running game. It's a big number, but I think if the Chargers get up, he obliterates 16.5. That's all I got. What I like in the rushing props. This one, Corbin?
Again, same as you.
Nice.
I don't like their rushing totals this week. I think Dobbins is far too high on his total, but again, I don't really trust Herbert and the passing offense that I think they might run it that many times that he gets there by sheer volume. But yeah, I can't do anything else with it. So
Jim?
And we have Gus Edwards out as well, right?
Let me look at the status of Gus Edwards here.
I blame the
Ruled out
person that
week
didn't do
6.
the injury report at the start.
He's out. Yes, he is out. He's
So
out.
we have no Gus Edwards, so that's going to help.
Now
Jake.
we love it.
Now we
Oh
love it.
God,
Mhm.
J.K. Dobbins getting a full workload. Oh, this has the injury written all over it.
16.5, nothing.
Yeah,
Until he gets
His
injured.
knee stays built to put together.
this has sprained knee written all over it in the second quarter. No. Oh man. All right, Falcons and the Panthers. I've talked about Hubbard 63.5. Since Dalton's gone there, he's been good. He's been really good. He's been productive. He's busting out some long plays. He's gone well over this total, and this is a Falcons team that gives up quite a few rushing yards. I like the 63.5. He's the only one getting carries right now. Miles Sanders had 2 carries last week. I know the Panthers got blown out, but Could they get blown out again? Of course, they're the Panthers. But if it's remotely close, they're just not going to get. They're not going to get away from the running game. They're going to try and keep Atlanta off the field. So I would. Who would you rather have in this game? Hubbard over or Bijan Robinson over?
Hubbard.
Hubbard. It's not even a question.
Isn't that bonkers?
It's not close.
Is that bonkers? Just Bijan's not getting it done. I don't know. Corbin, any other rushing props? Hubbard's my favorite.
Yeah, Hubbard's my favorite as well. 4 straight overs. Falcons 29th versus the run. The Panthers need him to run to have any kind of hope today, tomorrow even. So
yeah. Jim?
No, you guys covered it all.
Come on, Andy, you have to talk about the Kirk Cousins rushing. What's your where are you standing now?
Okay, so I should have gone right back to Aaron Rodgers under because that ankle injury, Jim, is that's a real injury that he has. You still got it. You can't take him over half a yard. He doesn't. He has 6 carries for -2 yards this year. Like he isn't even getting quarterback sneaks, which makes sense. So you're taking the under or nothing. And kneel downs, that's how you get the negative.
I was going to say, I'm assuming you're expecting a Cousins kneel down to.
Yeah, if he kneels down, if he kneels down a couple times at the end of the game, that's right there is -2 yards, which negates a 1 yard, or 2 yard,
Exactly.
QB sneak. But he's not getting, quarterback sneaks at all.
He could have to get 7 or 8 yards, and if they're up, you're going to be sweating it out. He could be one more kneel down to go and have 2 yards, and you're like, don't back up a lot, just go straight down. Please.
Yeah. Do they have Kirk Cousins rush attempts? Because how funny would that be is if you could take his under on rushing yards, but over on rush attempts because the kneel down. 1.5. Same game parlay. Kirk Cousins under half a yard and over.
We're going to have to make it at some point just to see what the odds are.
That being said, he's only gone over that total once this year, but it's possible. It's absolutely 100% possible. That would be an amazing 5% play.
Are you off the Tyler Algier bandwagon? You were on it all last year. I feel like he was one of your favorite players last year. I don't think I've heard you mention or anyone mention his name really this year.
Well, what I liked about Tyler Algier last year was that nobody was realizing that he was getting as much work as he was because everyone was so infatuated with Bijan Robinson. And every game last year, they're like, why aren't they giving the Bijan the ball more? Blah, blah, blah. And instead of focusing on who's getting the ball besides Bijan, they were focusing on why isn't Bijan Robinson getting the ball. So the value is, kind of gone on that one. 39.5 yards is an interesting look. He only had 6 carries for 12 yards last week. That's against Tampa. Again, you throw against Tampa, but Cousins had 500 yards. So, but you look at his previous games, 60, 32, 53, and 21 against the Panthers.
If we're expecting the Falcons to be up, he's the backup. They could quite easily give him a little workload to see what he's like. I see he's had 6+ in every game so far. I'm just wondering what kind of.
Oh my God, 9.5.
9.5?
9.5.
He hasn't gone over that this year, I don't.
No,
think.
9 is his. But that's
a crazy number.
They have to be expecting them to be up. That has to be what the thought process is for that one. So, you heard it here. The Kirk Cousins under a half yard,
same
but
game
over
parlay.
1.5.
2 QB sneaks at the goal line gets you over that. There you go. Doesn't even have to score.
Let's go to the Lions and the Cowboys here. I'll go first. I like Rico Dowdle over 41.5. Lions are okay. I mean, they're good. They're good. They're not amazing. They're not terrible. They're good against the run. And Dowdle had 20 carries last week. This job is his. And the Cowboys, they have to get something going in the running game. Going into last week, they were dead last in terms of running the ball. Zeke is absolutely cooked. He is, man. So I like Dowdle over 41.5. I like his over rush attempts 11.5. I think they're going to have to get going. No Brandon Cook, so they just got limited weapons in the passing offense. So Rico Dowdle is my guy, and I'm fully aware that if the Cowboys get down, this play looks absolutely ridiculous. But for the time being, if this game's close, give me Rico Dowdle. Jim, what do you think?
I love David Montgomery in this play
Yeah.
here. Love David Montgomery. He's the goal line back. I know it's so nerve-wracking with the Lions because they trot out onto the field on first down, and you're looking to see which numbers in the huddle based off your bet, and it's just infuriating.
They need
Look,
to do. Do you remember Cliff Robinson in the NBA? He
Yeah.
wore the headband,
Mhm.
and they asked him
give us
what's.
something to change him. Yeah,
Yeah, they asked him why he wears a headband, and he was like, "He's like, my mom can't really see me on the TV really well,
Mhm.
so I told her I would wear a headband so she can see me." That's what they need to do to Montgomery and Gibbs. They look too similar.
I want a sign on the sideline where they hold up the number. Is it Montgomery's number or Gibbs's number? So I know. I think both of these guys could go over their rushing total. I think they're going to lean on this run game. Detroit has had a extremely rough time with Dallas. I don't think they've beat Dallas. Was it 5 games in a row? This just screams something that Dan Campbell has on the bulletin board too. Going into Dallas this year, like they're wounded. Dallas is wounded. They're weak.
Yeah,
I think Detroit wants to lay 40 on this team, and they are going to run it directly down the Cowboys' throats. The Cowboys' defense is banged up. They're not no Dexter Lawrence or DeMarcus Lawrence, no Parsons. This is just really setting up to be badly. And not for nothing, I believe did we have Ragnow practicing this week for the Lions? So we very well could see him back. Then that running game gets a huge boost. Love me some running backs for Detroit in this game.
Corbin.
Well, I'll go for a third one. I love Gibbs. I think Gibbs is the one that goes over out of the 3 we mentioned. He's over in his last 3. His carries have gone slightly up. On par or ahead of the Cowboys. I think the Lions are going to coast here. I think they're going to run the ball. Cowboys 23rd versus the run, and he has so much speed that he can just break these long runs compared to Montgomery. Montgomery is the power back. Gibbs definitely has the speed, and I think he's going to run all over them, quite honestly.
Bengals and Giants Sunday Night Football. Chase Brown is going to be. I thought Zach Moss was out. What? Let me look this up because I thought they had ruled him out.
Whilst you're looking that up, I will tell you that the same game parlay for our Kirk Cousins comes out at plus 750. If
Oh, you got my interest. Okay, so Zach Moss is going to play. I like his under 42.5. This is the guy that I thought all week was going to be out. Giants offensive defensive line a little bit better than expected. I still think people are overreacting to them beating Seattle. A completely banged up, like horrific defense right now. So Zach Moss under 42.5. No way. So Chase Brown maybe over. Corbin, you like either of these guys?
No.
Jim?
Just take all the unders.
Take all the unders. There you go.
I don't see a big running attack in this game on either side.
All right. Let's take a look at receiving props. Corbin has said doesn't like many receiving.
Yeah. Don't like the board this week on receiving at all.
Yeah. I'm with you. Just starting with this game, I'm like, I don't know who.
Yeah,
I like Caleb Williams do good, but how am I picking one of these?
You're
guys?
slowly, yeah, exactly that. There's so many of these games where it's either you don't trust the quarterback or you don't quite know the game script or the game. And then you're like, right, I think this team are going to throw the ball, and then you realize that it's Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, and you're like, do I want to trust them? Just no.
No.
So
no. Yeah, all right, Jim, you like any of these receiving?
No,
props?
not this game. It's a London game. I'm out.
Pass on the London game. Texans and the Patriots.
We know where Jim's going here.
Ooh, tell me, Corbin, where am I going?
It's got to be Gibson, right?
Or
do you just like
Gibson?
You like his rushing and receiving a little bit better?
I like just rushing and receiving. I think he's just get more of a workload. The Patriots might trot in a running back we don't even know on third down to take the receiving. So I'd rather take rushing and receiving. I do think that Drake May targets his tight ends. And these numbers are stupid low.
24.5. Yeah.
10 for Austin Hooper. I mean, he had 40 against the Jets defense with Jacoby Brissett. Like 10? Really?
It's one pass.
Just, where's the ball going to go? Kendrick Bourne at 18.5. Like, that's one. Drake May is going to push the ball downfield. It might get intercepted. It might not be complete. But I think these numbers are a massive overreaction to the fact that it's the Patriots O-line, the Patriots, and Drake May. They're going to let the ball go.
I mean, if you add up some of these Patriots guys, it comes out to like 115 yards or something like that. But his passing total is like 165. So if we like him to go over, one of these guys is going over, probably 2 or 3, but I can't pick one. Corbin?
No, I was just doing a similar thing, but actually for the Texans, I was like, Stroud's total, wasn't it in like the 2?
It was in the 200s.
And I'm like, I just added up like Dell and Diggs together, and I'm just like, and Schultz, and I'm like, where else is it coming from? Again, I think that I can't take an over on any of them because I think they're going to be up so much that I think the Texans are going to run the ball with whoever it is that still waiting for some numbers on those. But again, you just can't pick. So
yeah. Commanders and Ravens here. Again, trying to pick one of these guys. Zay Flowers is gonna have a breakout game. I think this could be it. It's been a disappointing start. Obviously, Derrick Henry's been, taking all the headlines and doing most of the damage. But man, it just feels like Zay Flowers has got to have a big explosion coming. And I don't know. This could be it. So I kind of like him. Kind of like Terry McLaurin. If I'm looking at some of these guys that just exploit the bad, the bad secondaries, like, Flowers had the, 7 catches for 111 yards. Last week that was against the Bengals. Again, another terrible secondary. So can he do it 2 weeks in a row? I think didn't even have a touchdown. He has 1 touchdown this year. It's pretty crazy. Corbin, you like any of these guys?
No, I was waiting to see an Eckler receiving line. I was just going to check if he was injured or if anything. But I think he's practiced. I think he had an injury, but I think he's practiced. He's the one I was waiting to see if there was a line on. Other than that, again, I would rather take Daniels than trying to pick which receiver he's got. Yeah, and then with the Ravens, I think they're just going to run the ball. So I can't tell myself to take a receiving prop on any of them. Who knows if Mark Andrews is suddenly going to spark into life, or we're going to have another random likely. Again, it's just pass for me. So,
Jim?
But I would like an Eckler line if it ever appears. So,
Jim,
maybe Justice Hill, maybe. You can't pick who's going to be. That's the frustrating part. The ball's going to go through the air in this game, but you have no clue who. So
yes.
Browns and the Eagles, they get A.J. Brown back. They get Devontae Smith back, and these numbers are just astronomically high. Corbin, you like anything?
Again, it's a similar theme. I think the Eagles are going to run the ball. So that's where I had my Barkley stuff. And then I'm like, I think Deshaun could have a good game against this Eagles. But then I'm like, I don't want to trust him. I don't want to try and certainly work out which receiver he's going to.
Yeah.
So, Jerry Jeudy is the one that I kind of somewhat looked at, but again, I can't.
Jim?
I was looking at Njoku, but he's still popping up on the injury report, so kind of got to wait on that one. First week back last week, I think Watson made a big error. He was open a ton. He just didn't throw it to him. Could be something that on film they go back and look at and say, well, I know you got sacked, 27 times, Deshaun, but Njoku's running free 15 yards down the field. You might want to let it loose. So I think we could see an uptick in targets for Njoku.
I like Goddard under.
Bad secondary for Philly.
Yeah.
Stats don't lie. They lie, but it's a bad secondary.
I like Goddard under 38.5. First 2 games of the season, 31 and 38 yards. A.J. Brown and Smith go out 170 and 62. Now they're back. This is an obvious regression spot for Goddard. I was hoping the books wouldn't realize, but that's why they're the books. Cardinals and
I have one in this game. I can go for this Cardinals Packers game. Romeo Dobbs under 42.5. He's just like, obviously he got suspended last week for missing
Piling it on,
practice.
Corbin.
I love it.
I don't like him. I don't like the guy. I'm still not entirely sure he's there mentally. Even if he is there mentally, this total is too high for him. He's the name, it seems, in our offense. Everyone always talks about Dobbs or looks for him, but he just isn't that guy. Like Reed, Watson, Kraft, they're all ahead of him. Particularly if it looks like he's had some like bust ups with LaFleur this week. Just things are not right there. And at this total, I would like it even if he was mentally there. If mentally not there, then I quite like the under on him. So I will say it's quite interesting. Jair Alexander is questionable this week. I actually don't know if he's going to play. It's one of those we're going to have. I was more convinced last week, but wait and see, because if he's out, I've mentioned it before. I mentioned we can't defend the run. Eric Stokes in the back. Oh my God, awful player. Just target longest receptions against us if Jair Alexander is out.
That's a great look because if
It's a
Marvin
great
Harrison is going to take the top off that defense if there's no Alexander. He is.
Yeah.
Oh, Stokes is going to run around just looking at the sky. He's going to have no idea where to go.
Corbin, do you feel the number on Tucker Kraft is too high?
Yes, he's good and he's going to get targets. He's going to get receptions. I don't think he's going to go over that kind of total.
I was looking at the under with him. There's a lot of hype.
Yes,
he's the shiny new toy in the offense that's getting the attention. I think.
But we mentioned it. We're both
39.5 could be.
We think that both teams are going to run the ball. We've mentioned it so many times that, yeah, I quite like the under. I wouldn't take it. I'd rather take Dobbs, but I like the thinking.
Colts and the Titans. I will tell you, it's terrifying, but I kind of like DeAndre Hopkins over 41.5. Our secondary is atrocious. And what the Titans are doing is they're basically just, when Hopkins comes out on the field, he's probably getting the ball thrown to him. They're not like using him on 100% of the plays. It's kind of like I don't know. He's similar to like a third down back. Like if it's 3rd and 6 and Austin Eckler comes onto the field, you kind of have an idea of what's getting ready to happen. So if Hopkins is out on the field, I think they're throwing it to him, and I don't think the Colts could really do that much about it. One catch the first couple weeks. But his last 2 games, 73 yards and 31 yards. Again, it's just a fate of the Colts secondary that even a hurt DeAndre Hopkins, I think, can find some room. Jim, you like any of these receiving props?
Well, we really don't have anybody on the Colts.
We don't know who's going to be quarterback.
Exactly.
Michael Pittman's back hurts. Like
I want to talk about something. There's not a prop out yet, but if I know it's looking like it's going to be Richardson. If you see Joe Flacco enter the game, you are live betting Pierce props. Okay,
yeah, that's a good one.
He loves Alec Pierce. Loves him. Other than that, I can't do anything till I know who's playing.
Yeah.
So,
all
we're
right.
gonna wait on this one.
We'll move on. Buccaneers at the Saints. I will just jump in right now and tell you that I love. Where's his?
I wonder what this is going to be.
So it's going to be the receptions, and it's going to be Mike Evans under because they have him at 4.5. You have to go back to, I believe, 2018 or 2017 to find a game Mike Evans had over 4.5 catches against the Saints. Marshawn Lattimore and him, huge rivalry, and Lattimore just locks him down. And you've got a healthy Chris Godwin, which I think correlates here. I think you can take under 4.5 and over 5.5 for Godwin here. Lattimore just locks him down. It's interesting that Mike Evans does catch some touchdowns occasionally, just like when they get in close. As far as long passes, he locks him down and the Bucs go away from him. So Mike Evans under 4.5 is by far my favorite play in this game. One of my favorite receiving props for this week. What do you think, Corbin?
I kind of liked Godwin. I don't know if you want to chime in on what we said before. I've been playing Godwin receptions quite often this year. I had some concern because I went back and looked at their games last year. I think he had 8 in the first meeting and only 3 in the second. If you want to jump in there.
Yeah, Godwin had it was Godwin's year where he was coming back from knee surgery, and so you're just going to see some inconsistencies when you're coming back. I mean, he had a game against Carolina, no catches. 2 weeks later against your Packers, Corbin, 10. Like it's just kind of like what happens. Sometimes your knee swells up, and it's a 2 year before you're back to like 100%. So like Godwin was a frustrating guy to try and bet on week in and week out because you just kind of didn't know what you're going to get. But this year, very, very consistent. 8, 7, 6, 6, 5.
Yeah.
So I think he's a much more trustworthy this year because he's 100% healthy.
Exactly.
Jim?
No, you guys covered it.
Steelers and the Raiders. I cannot figure this one out. This will be one of the easiest passes. Anybody have any hot takes on the receivers for the Steelers and the Raiders? And we move on to the Chargers and the Broncos.
I think the numbers receiving wise are lined right in that game.
Yeah.
I still like O'Connell to go over his 180.
Then you
It's got to go
probably,
somewhere.
yeah, you probably like Bowers. I don't know. All right, Chargers and Broncos. Here's another one. I have no opinion
Yeah.
on Lil Jordan Humphrey.
I think the numbers are all really good here. Like I was looking at Lad McConkey because I think he's starting to really get in touch with Herbert, especially coming off the bye here. It makes me wonder if they spend a little bit extra time together. But 47.5, I don't know if I'm willing to go that high.
Falcons and Panthers here. Listen, if you like Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney has looked really good. Drake London has started to look good. I mean, of course, when Cousins throws for 500 yards, everybody looks good. Any of these you like, Corbin?
Again, no. I like Dalton to go under, but I can't then pick a receiver that I think's gonna go under. So I can't do anything with the Panthers. And then I look at the Falcons and I think who knows, it could be a close game with them both fiddling around, or they could somehow get up big just like happened against the Panthers last week, and then they don't need to throw the ball. It's kind of just pass.
Lions and the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Look how many players are on this list again.
It's nuts, right?
It's so funny. I'd really like to just give a special shout out to Sam Laporta for absolutely murdering every fantasy team that he's on. Single-handedly just ruining. Like, I know Christian McCaffrey's the big one this year, but at least you don't even start Christian McCaffrey. It's not like you're putting him in there and getting a point like you've been doing with Sam Laporta. I've never seen.
Well, you're going to take his yards under 41 then?
I'm just staying away from it. Like I probably should, because I have him on a fantasy team and he's been killing me. So I probably should just take his under. That way, if he kills me again, at least I make a little money off of it. This game is tough for me. The only one I kind of like is Jalen Tolbert, 45.5. Got to believe they're going to be focusing on CeeDee Lamb. But not getting to the window certainly on any of these. Jim, any of these 43 wide receivers or tight ends you listed here?
Well, it typically in fashion, even though we're talking about wide receivers, I'm going to talk about a running back. What's Ezekiel Elliott's receptions?
So 2.5 yards.
I was just looking at his yards. I just pulled up his numbers. He's had 0, 1, and 1 receptions the last 3 weeks. So
man, his
please be 1.5.
They don't even have him.
I was looking for one because I know he's screaming about touches and all this stuff, and it's just a catch. Zeke. I don't care if it loses 10 yards. You know they're going to give him one. All right, Zeke, get out there, show us what you got, and he's going to get one catch for -5, and then you say, "Okay, go sit down now."
There, you got your
corner
on your beat up shoulder. So,
all right, let's move on to the Bengals and the Giants. No Malik Neighbors. Do you go back to Wandale at 55.5? I kind of think I think it's the most popular play in this game. Like Wandale's I don't know. We need a name for it. Like, what's the play that everyone thinks they're really sneaky playing, and then it turns out everybody's on it.
Losing play.
The Jordan Mason on Thursday Night Football. Wandale's the only one I'm really interested in. Maybe Chase Brown 13.5 because I just don't think Zach Moss is going to play as much. Corbin, you like any of these?
No.
Jim?
Mike Gesicki over 19.5. I have that one circled.
Okay.
All talk about Higgins and Chase, but very quietly, Mike Gesicki has worked his way into a pretty dangerous weapon in this offense, and he is a talented tight end that could easily get this on one catch against a Giants secondary that I believe safety-wise, coverage-wise is weak. So they're good tacklers, but I think they're a little bit weak. All the attention is going to go to Chase. Nobody's going to double-team Mike Gesicki. They got to put attention to Higgins. He could be wide open down the center for a big game.
All right. Let's get into some alt lines and same game parlays.
Yes.
To remind everybody, we do have our NFL Week 6 best bets pack up. We were 2-0 last week, lowered the volume. Nice little sweep last week, 2-0. We're having a fantastic year. We're 9-1 on plays since Monday. Corbin, you're a big part of that, sweeping the board in darts plays. Hoping to finish strong with NFL plays this week. We already have one play that is up at the time of recording. Probably add one more, maybe two. But we're going to go low volume again and just hope for a nice little 2-0, 3-0 sweep. So take advantage of that. wt.buzz/AL over at wagertalk.com. All right, Corbin, let's start with Alt Universe. Shout out to you. You sent me two of the grainiest, most pixelated screenshots. I bet I actually sharpened these up. This is the best I could do.
Let's just talk about the play. Ignore the screenshots, guys. I'll read. I'll read. So we have.
That looks like old NES.
Guys.
How far away was the phone?
I was expecting you to type it out, not copy and paste it in. My apologies. I will get a 4K crisp image for you next week. I'll make sure
the audience deserves better.
I'll make sure to emphasize it as I read this out. So it's Dalton under 250 passing yards. I mentioned I like him at his normal total. This gets us an extra, I think it's about 28 yards here. Falcons 8th best versus the pass. He's gone under the last two. I think he might have even gone under this total in all of them except the first game. I'm expecting both teams, including the Panthers, to run the ball here, and every quarterback, including Carr, who hadn't gone under the 222, have gone under this total. So that's everyone against Falcons under that total. We have the Ravens over 20.5 team points. Speaks for itself. They've scored 41, 35, 28, 26, and 20. And the Commanders' defense is not great. They gave up 37 to the Bucs and 33 to the Bengals. I think the Ravens could have a good day both throwing and passing the ball here. And then we have the Packers over 16.5. I love these plays these totals when it's 16.5. Basically, 2 touchdowns and a field goal gets you this. So they've scored 24, 29, 30, 16. That was the game that Love didn't play, and 29. Cardinals have given up 23, 42, 20, 10, and 34. So I love all of that together. Wrap it all up for -118.
Nice.
I really like this one.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite one so far.
That's a great one. Speaking of the Packers, let's jump here real quick to inside the trenches. Jim, you're going to talk about the Packers. What's going on with their
We're about to bash my team again here, I sense.
It's not. We're going to go to both sides of the ball. I got something nice to say and something mean to say. You want the good news or bad news?
Let's start with the good news.
The good news. The good news is this. The Packers offensive line has had to adapt and change this season with the Jordan Love injury. They've really had to go in and change the way that they ran their pass blocking scheme and the run blocking. You know, they've kind of chugged away in the run blocking. They get a decent push. The numbers are okay. But where I've been impressed with the Packers is their pass protection. And I think a lot of that also is aided by Jordan Love. Jordan Love is absolutely great at not taking sacks. He's no problem getting rid of the ball. We've been speaking about this all season. It's like every quarterback does not care about their completion percentage anymore. They're not taking sacks. They're throwing the ball away. I think that this Packers O-line and their quarterback and the offensive scheme have really started to gel from a pass blocking perspective, and we've seen the Packers be able to really light it up through the air. They're going up against the Cardinals. I don't see any kind of big threat from the Cardinals to make this all of a sudden look like a JV offensive line. So I love where the Packers are going offensively.
Can I jump in and ask a question before we jump onto the? I don't know if you've got sacks coming up in the next slide. I don't know if you've got any this week, but would you look to take some Cardinals under their sacks against like Love? I know traditionally you do to have half a sacks or over, but would you look the other way?
I would look
given what you just said.
You're going to have a very nice surprise in about 5 seconds, Corbin.
Oh, okay. I may have just spoiled what's coming.
No,
okay.
You're 100% right. And that's part of what we're talking about. You have to pivot. You have to pivot if the numbers are not adding up. If a prop is not working or a market is not working for you, you have to change the way you're doing things. And that's what we're going to do going forward. Good job, Corbin. Now I'm going to give you the bad news. Your rush defense is atrocious. I'm not telling you anything you did not know. I think they are absolutely lost from a rush defense perspective. The only quality pass rusher that they really have is Rashad Gary. I could see James
Yeah.
Conner having a day against this Packers defense. And until the linebackers can really step up and assist this mediocre defensive line in stopping the run, I don't think we're going to see anything different. So I think we can ride this Packers rush defense for the rest of the season.
Yes.
All right, Jim, let's get to the sack props. You're going in a
Corbin?
completely different way this week. So no, this is really important. Like, too many times I think we aren't quick enough to pivot away from things that work. And I would use the UFC new gloves as an example. Like, it's very obvious that knockouts are down, and they are. It turns out since they've introduced the gloves, there's 13% less knockouts. That's a lot. Fights are going longer, and if you're not pivoting away from that, you can get lost. So, Jim, talk about what's been going on with sack props this year.
So it's been one of those years where it's just not happening. Like the names, you're getting these random sacks late from backup players, and I wonder if a lot of it just has to do with today's day and age of social media and name recognition and brand recognition. That how could you miss Chris Jones? How could you miss? You know what you have to do as an offense. You have to eliminate these guys. We've seen these outlier games. TJ Watt with a sack and a half. Max Crosby with 3. Who was it that had 5? Hutchinson had one
like
game of 5. He's done nothing the rest of the year. So if you bet Hutchinson every game this year, you're thinking he's got 5 sacks. You're 1-4.
It's wild.
At juiced numbers as well. So here's where we went this week. We're going to experiment with this. This is going to be a small play for me. It's not going to be a client play. I just want to see if this is going to start to work out. First of all, we selected 3 linebackers where the numbers are offered. I chose linebackers because not every single play are they going to be rushing the quarterback. They are going to be in pass coverage. And if a team does not blitz, they will not be there for the sack. The other thing is these 3 guys combined only have 3.5 sacks on a year. Okay. So we put these 3 together, it gets us to minus 123. In looking at these game scripts, I expect Carolina, well, let's look at it. Levante David is going up against Spencer Rattler. That's the one I'm worried about the most. Quay Walker going up against Kyler Murray. Quay Walker's not catching Kyler Murray. Yeah, Corbin, could you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got no shot to catch Kyler Murray. Nakobe Dean has looked absolutely lost in Philadelphia and been under major fire. He's not playing well. So I think you could put these 3 together for a small play at minus 123. I think it's the point in the season where we have to start looking at players to not have a sack instead of the other way around.
I like it. Yeah, it's a great way to look at some of these sack props if something hasn't been working, try and figure out what does work and then move from there. Corbin, let's wrap up with your grainy ass. See the lines of the computer screen. It's not the quality of the still frame, it's the quality of the play. Right. So we're looking at the Lions and Cowboys. What do you like?
Okay, we've explained this earlier when we delved into this game, but the Cowboys are definitely weaker than last year. They're starting on offense and defense. They've only so the Lions are plus 7.5. Forgot to mention that. The Cowboys have only covered the spread versus the Browns. We obviously know the Browns have struggled. Very different team to the Lions. Lions have only lost once this year by 4 to the Bucks in that close game, and they really need the wins to stay with the Minnesota at the minute because they are flying. If they want any hope of winning the division, they have to just keep winning. Them to cover 7.5 seems great to me. And then the running backs, I mentioned I like Gibbs. Jim mentioned he liked Montgomery. I like both of them to go over these alt totals. So Gibbs needs to get 40 or more. Montgomery just 25 or more. Obviously, I lean to the Gibbs more than the Montgomery, but you could easily flip it the other way or have both of them to get 40 yards at a better price, quite honestly. Cowboys run defense is 23rd in the league. I'm expecting both the Lions running backs to run almost all game. Both hit this total in every game this year and all the head-to-heads last year. I just love this play. Wrap it all up together and get minus 138. So
love it. I think that's my favorite same game parlay you've had this year. I love all.
I agree.
Yeah, checks
my
all
favorite.
the boxes.
And my favorite same game of the year. So
there you go. Love it. So
hey, Corbin. Gentlemen's
Jim.
bet on the Lions game.
Ooh.
I know what you're gonna say.
Ooh, what is it?
Montgomery versus Gibbs. I'll take Montgomery. You take Gibbs.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take that.
Loser has to do the other guy's segment next week.
Oh God! Oh God!
That's good.
Sure. I'll go for it. I'll go
All right.
for it.
Corbin, you have to give us 3 Zach Robinson. You have to give us the same.
Just do
game
the opposite
parlay.
to what I say next
And
week.
always-
Jeez.
We'll do
That'll
our
be-
real, then we'll just do our other ones jokingly. But
That'll-
fun, right?
Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll be
Have
great.
a bet.
I've made an executive decision. We're not doing best bets at the end of this show. There's several reasons for it. One, I have 2 breakdown videos that are up on Wager Talk. I gave you a best bet on bet on it, and the fact is we talk about all of them and all of them and all of them throughout the show, and then at the end try to pick a best bet. I think we end up putting out plays that we maybe don't 100% believe in, and we want our best to be out there for everybody. So our best bets are for clients, and that's what we're kind of known for. But there's plenty of ways to try and take advantage of some of the information, but we're not doing best bets at the end of the show. Quite frankly, mine have not been that good, and I know it's great content for the hindsight haters to check the bets after the fact and then post comments, but I just don't feel like they're that helpful to everybody. So this video is more of like, hey, here's our thoughts and here's a bunch of information. Do with it what you please. If you really want to know what we are putting our actual money on, you know exactly where that's at. Those are the plays over at Wager Talks Up. And we're having a great year, plus 147 units. I think that's 148 after yesterday. Yeah, our goal was 100 units this year, and now we've moved the goal to 150. So hopefully we can get over that, stay there, and maybe catch a late heater and creep up to 175. But coming off of a 2-0 week feels really good in NHL. So I think in NFL. So looking to be dialed in even better this week. So, all right, that's going to do it for it. Thanks very much for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. And Corbin, what's the code word to put in the comments section?
Nail.
Nail. Appreciate you guys. Good luck under your bets, and we will see everyone later.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys.